Okay. Busy, yeah. I mean, look, we started out doing the virtual reality event, and I remember shooting that with Sam, thinking, like, we're taking time away from the show. What are we doing? And he's like, this could be really cool. And he was right. I mean, watching that scene, I watched it for the first time, in the ballpark today with so many fans that adore this show. What a great way to celebrate what's happening.
Have you been on one of the Mr. Robot buses?
Have I been in it? Sometimes they drive through when we're shooting in New York, and they're, Sam thinks it's kind of meta that happens, so he'll let it go, but a few times they've just come one after the other and we have to cut, and I feel somewhat responsible that I'm slowing down the day because my face is on the bus. But then I just smile and point and go, Sam, my face is on a bus because of you.
Well, when Elliot supposed to be on the buses and was on the,
Yeah, right? That's what he says. You never know.
I'd like to know more about the behind the scenes of the vomit scene yesterday we saw.
Oh.
Can you tell us about that?
I've not seen the episode, but what was it made of? Elliot rarely eats, so I was like, that's a lot of vomit, but it was made of, some of it I think might have been sadly my own vomit because I wanted it to look real, and so I kept gagging myself, and people just were not happy about that because after every take you have to clean it up, so no one wants your own vomit in there. But there's only certain sounds you can make when you're actually doing that, so maybe I got a little too aggressive with it, but I hear it's pretty difficult to watch. Was it awful?
It was awful, but it was really nice. I was like, oh my god.
I'm glad I made vomit.
So part of your comment
nice.
on the big fan theory of season 2 is that Elliot is actually in a prison or a mental hospital, and that's the regimen.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I saw that on Reddit and then talked to Sam about it. Look, fans come up with some very interesting theories about the show, and I love it. I mean, I love that there's a discussion about it. Maybe Sam hasn't told me everything, so I'd like to figure things out as well. But it's a routine for trying to capture his sanity and try to have some semblance of normalcy. We'll see where it takes us.
How often do you on Reddit and see what they're saying?
I can go. I mean, I learn a lot about this show from Redditors, and there are times that I've gone up to Sam and said, do you think this is possible? And he's told me, he's like, you're reading too much Reddit. And he thinks I'm very paranoid when I ask him. I said, what is this routine, Sam? And he goes, you're just as paranoid as everybody
The
else.
show uses a lot of technology, including the virtual reality and social media and all that type of stuff. How do you feel about the way that they advertise the show and how it's kind of unique and a little bit different than most show advertising?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think they're really progressive because obviously you're going to lose viewers when you take in the numbers of who's watching the night of Wednesday at 10 p.m. if it's leaked on Facebook a day before or whenever we did it, 3 days before. But it's just progressive, it's smart, it's forward thinking from a network who was a step ahead in picking the show up in the first place. So I have to thank Alexandra Shapiro and her team for being ahead of the game and thinking outside of the box. It's a show that is very forward thinking, and I think the advertising has displayed that as well.
Quick question. What was it like working with Joey Bada? On a lot of the scenes?
Joey shocked me at how much of a natural he was right away. He's one of those actors who you just stick the camera on and he can kind of do no wrong. And Sam kind of loved his music and then, thought from his lyricism he would be very artistic and would be an interesting actor, compelling, and he's proven so. He's really owned it. I mean, from day one, he's a very different actor than he was from the start. Once he figures something out, he's one of those guys that's like, I'm a rock star now, you know? At first it's like my first day acting, can you help me with this and that? And now he's like, you should probably try it like this. Okay, sure.
Is the red wheelbarrow connected to those Elliot Carlos Williams poems?
It might be. It is, you know, it is very, yeah, I think it has some allusions to our literature and has questions what is literal as well. Who knows?
What question has no one asked you yet?
Nothing. I've gotten a lot.
What was it you'd like them to ask those questions?
I've been happy with the flow, and it's all been moving very nicely. So
I heard that some of your cast members have been keeping up on like Reddit to keep up
yeah,
with Facebook.
I've heard that too. I haven't actually. I do love Reddit, but I haven't. I don't know. I just haven't really gone in there to see. We've also been working too, so I haven't really had the opportunity to do any real surfing or investigating in that particular area. So it's been good, and I feel like I have a fairly decent handle on going, what the relationship is between me and Elliot, and I'm just excited for it to continue to unfold and for people to discover it themselves.
Have you been keeping up with any of the fan theories with your cast members, even outside of that?
Fan theories with the Rami and Carly and Portia and those
the
guys.
new one is that Elliot's actually in a prison or
wow.
a hospital now.
It's creative, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I have heard a couple of things, and I always go, well, that's people are definitely. It's exciting that people are thinking about it. I mean, that's really cool.
As an actor, how much do you really need to know about your character and everything that goes around it in order to just really feel good about your performance, or how much or how little?
Well, I think as much as possible. I think I function better with information, of course, and I've been very fortunate with Sam Esmail. He's been very open in sharing things with me, and feel very in the loop about what's going on and what's happening, and I have really from day one. He really has been. If I have a question and he says, "Do you really want to know?" He always gives me that out, and I say yes, and he's always told me. So.
Do you always say yes? Do you always?
Yeah, no, I always say yes. I mean, I'm terrible at. I need to know. Because it also, particularly even with the first season, if I didn't know what the final scenario was and what the relationship was between these two guys, it would have certainly lost I think a layer of depth that otherwise wouldn't have been there. So because just knowing that ending, not that I want to spoil anything, it just made me want to take Elliot more under my wing and be a little bit more protective.
What character development for you as an actor most excited you and most surprised you?
Well, certainly, after doing episode 9, I didn't really know of season 1. I really didn't know where we were going to go after that, because Sam was still writing, or the scripts were still coming in week to week, so I didn't know what was going to happen. So I was like, dude, now what do we do? What's going to happen now? So I was thrilled with. Certainly, I was thrilled with the speech that I got to give in Times Square, and the writing of that I just thought was so remarkable and fantastic. And then when we finished season 1, of course, I had questions about how he was going to handle everything in season 2 and what we were going to do. But he calls us after he's sort of broken what the idea for season 2 is going to be, and talked to me for about an hour and a half about what the whole journey and arc was going to be, and laid it all out for me, and I had many visceral reactions, and was thrilled, and I just couldn't wait to get back in there and have some good convos with my son.
So do you know what happened that night? Do you know what happened the night that's missing from Elliot's memory?
Of course I do. I did it exactly. So I took over, and he'll know when I want him to know, if ever.
So
that's how it goes.
So which character, after watching the first 2 episodes, which character is more disillusioned to being in control, Elliot or Mr. Rowland?
character is more disillusioned.
Because I feel like Elliot thought with his regiment that he was in control.
Sure.
But towards the end of episode 2, it didn't feel. It seemed like he thought Mr. Robot was finally in control, but then before it closed, I couldn't tell which one of them had more control.
I think it really is a full-on back and forth tug of war between these two guys, and you know, it's anytime Elliot tries to put any restrictions around me and what it is that I want to do, it's infuriating. You know, I don't want there to be boundaries. You know, and I'm on a particular path with a particular vision, and I want us to accomplish and complete that goal. And anytime he gets in my way, it pisses me off.
As far as whether or not Mr. Robot is delusioned, or do you think he's more of a split personality, or do you think he's just a figment as part of Elliot's mind?
You know, it's in the process, I think, of developing. Like I said, I mean, the character, I think, is as it goes on and as we get the opportunity to continue to go deeper and deeper into the story, you know, the character, I think, does begin to take on a personality of his own. I mean, originally Elliot envisioned this wonderful, sort of mysterious, smooth-talking leader, you know, and that was his ideal vision of who he would have wanted his father to be had he lived. But now, you know, it's possibly, you know, taking on certainly a personality of his own.
What can you tell us about Dominique? We still only know a little bit.
I know, so I can't really tell you a lot because I don't want to spoil anything. But she is the FBI agent on the case of the 5/9 hack. She's definitely not what you'd expect your average FBI agent to be, if that is such a thing. She's clever, she's tough, she's quick-witted, she's instinctually has this feeling about this case and who did it and why, and will sort of stop at nothing to find that and to get what she wants. So, you know, I represent basically the role of law enforcement in the show. So everyone's sort of dealing with the consequences of what happened in season 1, and that's where I come into play. I'm basically the antagonist of society.
Have you been watching the show before?
Yes, I love the show. I watched it. I binge watched it. I sort of couldn't stop on my computer. I love it. I think it's an important, rare thing to see on TV right now. I think it speaks to a very pervasive and modern feeling of distrust in society and capitalism, and, you know, all the. I think it's an important story.
And if your character is basically on the side of the establishment, what kind of pressure does that put on you in playing the role?
Well, I can't really judge my character and what she is doing and how she wants to go about her job. It doesn't put a pressure on me. I feel like my part is necessary in terms of the arc of this story and where it should be, where it can lead. I think that, you know, that they did this thing and then they have to obviously in some way pay for what they did, or have the consequences of their actions have to come to light in some way. And so that's where I come in. But, you know, I think it's up to the audience to decide whether whether Dom is a good guy or a bad guy.
What do you like most about her?
She's weird. She's kind of a weirdo.
In what way is she weird?
She's just not. She's just like her own person. She's not. You know what I think of what is so cool about the way Sam writes with all these characters is that you think you know who they are and where they're going, and it just completely, you know, turns you upside down. And I felt that way doing the show. I felt like I was constantly surprising myself of what I was capable of doing.
There's sort of a point of showing your characters when they're not on the job, and a lot of sort of private, intimate parts of her life when she's, you know, awake at 4 o'clock in the morning and chugging coffee and stuff.
Totally.
Are those sort of elements of her really personal life?
Yeah, I think she's.
Come up later?
Yeah, you know, Sam always described to me her as she's lonely but not alone. I think she's sort of a bright light in a dark world, trying to find the people who turn the lights out. What I love about her is that she is this sort of eternally optimistic woman, and in the midst of this darkness, she's sort of still okay and nice and friendly and earnest and loves her job, but obviously has her own complicated side to her that she's grappling with. And I think she throws herself into her work, uses that. No, it's fine.
Are there any particular moments, without spoiling it, that stay in your mind that you saw already that you think the audience is going to relate to or enjoy?
Yeah, I mean, the way we shot it was so crazy. We were block shooting the whole season, which meant that we got every single episode before we started it. So that meant shooting a lot of stuff. I shot most of my scenes in 4 days. I mean, I shot a lot of everything over the course of the whole season, but a lot of my meaty, the sort of arc of my character was shot in these 5 days. So it's kind of a blur, but all of it, I think all of it is memorable, and all of it, hopefully, people will relate to and respond to. It was just so challenging and hard and wonderful to work on a show like this.
What's coming up for Angela this season 2?
I can't tell you. I knew you would. Of course, right? What can I say? I don't know. I mean, Angela's quite different this season than she was in the first season. And I think the most interesting elements are this idea of brainwash. I wanted to dig deep. I wanted to figure out what her inner motivations were. And I started thinking about the implications of her mother's death and working at this company, and the kind of guilt and shame that you live with on a daily basis. And a lot of people are saying, oh, she drank the Kool-Aid and now she's evil. And I think that what's interesting about her and so many and all the characters on the show is that they're so layered and realistic. It's like, yes, but also she was told by Terry Colby, if you want to make a change, this lawsuit means nothing. You have to work from within. You have to work your way up, and you have to actually get to a place where you can make those changes. And I would do the same thing if I were in her position. So I think there's that, right, which is real. I can identify with, and there's also the aspect of what happens when you get seduced by the idea of finally having power and control and having someone that believes in you, especially when those things are stripped away from you in your childhood. Your mom, like having to find your sense of self after the loss of her mother and not having any power or any control, and now she gets that, and I think that there's something very lucrative about it. So it's that fine line that I think is really relatable, that people relate to.
The idea of the affirmations
Well, yeah, right? I mean, it's interesting because I started to listen to them because I wanted to experience what that's like. And I found myself, I was in my kitchen one night and I was like, how am I going to do this? I don't believe in this. I can't do this crap. And I was for an hour and a half, someone says like, you are beautiful. I am beautiful. I think you're beautiful. Over and over, all these things. And I was washing dishes and I noticed that my mood started to shift. And it was weird because there was this one dish that I really hate washing, and I grabbed it and I was like, doo-doo-doo, and I was like, God, I'm in a better mood. And that's when things started to click for me. And I thought, oh wow, what an interesting way to completely reform your body. Like completely reform it. And why, I was interested to know why she needs to do it so desperately. What pain is she trying to suppress? Because that comes up throughout the season. You start to find out what she's repressing. I mean, she's around Price, who, in the episode that just transpired, is literally saying, if you repress your emotions, you'll know what to do. And, and you see the positive affirmations. You see how she implements them and why throughout the series, which I think was such a good thing that Sam gave this character this season. Really, really interesting.
So does she have a motive or sort of a plan in place, or is she just seeing where she's going?
something really, there's like 5 things this season that are totally unpredictable. I mean, things just keep getting slammed her way, and she just has to kind of some things. Oh, I wish I could tell you, but I can't. There's one thing that you totally would. The ending is absolutely insane. I asked Sam so many times, he wouldn't tell me what happened to her. I guessed everything. I even went on like Reddit and did research. And I was like, what is it? What is it? And I asked him, he was like, you're never going to be able to guess it. And that's also what's so great about the show is even we don't know what is happening. So, and I would say tune in because everyone on the show goes through massive changes this season.
That was actually one of the questions that I was curious about, which is that there are layers to the show itself, and you can watch it on different levels. So if you just want to watch it like, here's a story, you can do that. But also there's all these hints that get dropped in, and there's this whole other level, like you said on Reddit, looking for those things.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that that all leads to something. It did last season, so should people who really want to figure that out, like you said, Reddit, and there are other places that people can start looking for that stuff.
There's really, really interesting conclusions that I've read that I like said to Sam, is this what happens? Because this is pretty cool.
What's your favorite fan theory? I'm not asking you to comment on
fan theory,
but what's your favorite fan theory?
I don't know any recent fan theories.
Okay.
Last season.
There's a new one.
I didn't know about the scarf on the door. This isn't a theory, but I didn't know that Mr. Robot's scarf was on the back of the door like the entire time in the first season. Did you know that?
Me either.
No, that's right. There was a lot of things like that I actually didn't know. You might want to check that, but I think that's right. Yeah, I haven't read any.
There's one this season that Elliot is actually in a prison or a hospital, and that's why he's on like a regimen.
Apparently there's a whole lot of bars
really
in that house.
Wow, that's really interesting. I guess what's so crazy about this show, I'm trying to put it together, like how people put the clues together in the show. I guess what's really interesting is like everyone, there's some people that I feel like might be onto things, and then as soon as they think that they're onto things, they're completely wrong. Like they like tiptoe, and then like it goes all the way over here, and then it goes all the way over there, and that like push-pull is really fun to watch. But we sit there. When we were doing this, we had 4 episodes that we didn't read, and we read them together for the first time in like this warehouse. And we were writing notes to each other on the table and passing them like, is this what just happened? Just like that, and like looking at Sam, and the whole time we take breaks and go outside and try to guess, and none of us guessed. So what I will say is, none of us guessed. None of us guessed correctly.